sun. And in Ireland, you need a lot of faith to worship the sun. And they believe that when it's set in this world, it went and shone on another underworld, a place for the gods, the fairies, the deities, the ancestors. Pretty cool place, beautiful houses, beautiful clothes. People partied all day long, no one got sick, no one died. It was their version of heaven. And people reasoned that if things were going well in your life, you must be doing something to please the entities in this world. If things were going wrong, you must have done something to upset them. But now you've named it, now you can do something about it. You can make an offering, you can change your behaviour. Now, whether this had any real impact, we could debate all night long. But it was Henry Ford, another Irishman, who said, if you believe that you can do something, or you believe that you can't do something, you're absolutely right. So if you believe that by changing your behaviour, you could change your luck, it gave you some sense of control over a highly uncontrollable life. Now, Christianity usually came to a country behind the Roman Empire. But the Roman Empire never got as far as Ireland. It got as far as Britain and stopped. In fact, one of the names that the Romans had for Ireland was Winterland. So our tourist board wasn't doing a great job. In fact, if you take the old Irish name of Hibernia and the word hibernate, they come from the same root. So basically the Romans were saying, listen, it's freezing cold over there, there are a mad crowd, it's just not worth it. It loses the translation, that was roughly what they said. What was the impact of this? The impact was that Christianity didn't arrive in Ireland until the middle of the 5th century, with the arrival of St. Patrick and the monastic movement. Now, this was, when St. Patrick arrived in 432, he couldn't just hop off the boat and say, forget about the old pagan ways, here's the new Christian ways. It was a much more gentle process. It was evolution rather than revolution. And the early Christian people like St. Patrick simply absorbed many of the practices of the old Celtic order into the new Christian way of doing things. And to give you one example, the Celts had a great reverence for spring wells, because they believed that the spring wells were the entrance into this underworld where the gods live. So it's only natural that they would respect it. So when Christianity came, instead of saying, oh come on, that's a load of nonsense, they simply renamed these wells as Christian holy wells, naming them after Christian saints, St. Kevin's well, St. Patrick's well, St. Bridget's well. There are still hundreds of them around the country. And many of these wells were or are believed to have certain curative powers. Some would cure arthritis, some would cure sick cattle. There's even one down in Dingle, down in the southwest, a place called Glan-na-Galf. And Glan-na-Galf translates as the Glen of the Mad. Now, I don't mean in any way to trivialise mental health issues, but it was believed that the water in Glan-na-Galf would help people who were mad. Now, you might say, hold on a minute, we're talking about a puddle of water in a field. How is that going to help anybody who has mental health issues? In 2012, we did an analysis of the water in the well of Glan-na-Galf and discovered that it contains a very high proportion of lithium. Now again, I don't mean to trivialise it, but surprise, surprise, some people drank the water, some people felt better. You see, the Celts were very pragmatic. If something worked, they did it, and if it didn't, they moved on. So what you might hear as old wives' tales, or pishos, as we'd say here, when you look at what's going on behind it, very often there's an explanation or a reason or more than a grain of truth behind it. Now the relationship between the early Christian church and the old Celtic order, it was quite harmonious at first, but after a while it began to fray. It was a power struggle. And the stories that we were given of the origins of this fairy world were twofold. One was that the fairies were fallen angels. Well, by definition, if the fairies are fallen angels, then the Christian ideal has to be enhanced. And the other was that the fairies were members of a tribe called the Tuatha De Danann, the people of the goddess Dan, said to have been defeated in battle by the Miletians, who came from northern Spain. And the deal after the battle was that the Miletians would live above the ground, becoming us, the Gaels, while the Tuatha De Danann would live below the ground, becoming those supernatural deities to the north. And this is where history, mythology, and folklore all very neatly converge. Because that story of the Miletians defeating the Tuatha De Danann is a legend, a myth, dating from about the 10th century. And yet today, if you do an analysis, and it was done some years ago, of people in northwestern Spain around Galicia and people in Ireland, we have essentially the same DNA. So does it make you wonder, something that is purely a myth from the 10th century is actually supported by scientific evidence? Just makes you wonder where the lines are never as clear cut as you might think. But to cut to the chase, what did people believe? People believed that there were two main types of fairies. There were the trooping fairies and there were the solitary fairies. Now, the trooping fairies, they're the ones that trooped or travelled from their summer quarters to the winter quarters at that time of year I mentioned, summer. And they didn't have much truck for humans. They lived in these beautiful palaces. They also lived, though, in what was known as fairy forts. I don't know if any of you have, apart from my Mayo companion over here, any of you have seen these fairy forts. If I was to be historically accurate for a moment, they are known as ring forts, single-family dwellings, dating from the Bronze and Iron Age. Circular in construction, made of earth or stone, depending on what was available locally. Probably originally would have had a timber palisade fence around the top. When it was in there, you'd build your house to protect your family and your animals from attack from thieves or wolves. But it was said that when the humans moved out, the fairies moved in. And those fairy forts, folks, are the best protectors of Irish archaeology. But if you ask most Irish people today, do you believe in fairies? They'll say, no, I don't believe in fairies, but I'm not touching that. In a rural society, your luck is everything. And if your forefathers haven't done it, you're not going to touch it. In fact, last summer there was a gentleman here from, an Irish guy, and he said his family are on a farm, and just outside the farmhouse, in a very awkward place, there is a fairy fort. And his father will not allow anyone to go near it. So, you say, do people believe? No, I don't believe, but I'm not touching that. There's a friend of mine, she lives over in Ballina, County Mayo. I keep picking on this lady. There's a lovely avenue going up to her farmhouse with a paddock of grass on either side. The paddock on the right-hand side has a large earthen fairy fort, about 100 feet in length, with a stand of mature beech trees in the centre. And some years ago, one of the trees was blown down in the storm. And she couldn't get anybody in the locality to take the tree. She said, I don't want money for it, just take it on. She eventually got someone from outside the district to take the tree. And as true as I'm standing